Missy, can you have me one of those Kleenexes? Just in case put that right here because my nose feels weird. Something in the air. It's weird.
Thank you.
I don't want to have to sneeze and I have Kleenex. I'm like, ooh, that would be a mess. It's not good. Okay. We got half a minute. Are we ready to go?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is now 7:00 p.m. and I will call the City Council meeting to order. Can everyone please, first may I please get a roll call?
All counselors are present.
That's it. Can everyone please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is special orders of the day and announcements. 3A is proclamation honoring Sid Clark.
At this time, we will have Vice President Forbeck to go to the podium.
Whereas the Beloit City Council has committed to a framework of sustainability to ensure our community's well-being is sustained through time, and whereas sustainability is not just the responsibility of municipal government, as true sustainability takes a full community effort, and whereas Beloit College student Sid Clark initiated the Sustain Beloit program to help divert recyclable materials out of the landfill, and whereas Sustain Beloit was implemented in August 2022 and places the responsibility for trash and recycling on the individuals creating it, and whereas the campus community now sorts their own recyclables and garbage in color-coded containers, which are taken outdoors for weekly solid waste pickup. And whereas Clark created an information campaign that focuses on recycling rules, the role of plastic bags and more to keep recyclable materials from the landfill. And whereas Clark, a student from Ventura, California, will graduate in May 2023 with degrees in international relations, environmental justice and citizenship, and critical identity studies. Now, therefore, the President of the Beloit City Council honors Sid Clark for commitment to sustainability efforts and encourages the Beloit College campus to continue following Clark's Sustain Beloit program in the city of Beloit. Presented this 5th day of December 2022.
Sid, could you come forward, please?
It's an honor giving this to you. Please say a few words.
Yeah, if you could say a few words, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I have a couple words, and most of them are the names of other people who were involved in this project. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge that Beloit College is located on the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and I want to respectfully acknowledge the Potawatomi, Peoria, Miami, Meskwaki, and Ho-Chunk Winnebago peoples who have stewarded this land that my project impacted throughout countless generations. I'm also very grateful to Shannon Fye for being the mode of communication between my project and local tribal leadership. Additionally, thank you to the Beloit College Facilities Department for supporting me throughout my entire Beloit College career and encouraging me to do this project. Terry Skilling and Peter Murphy Concrete for doing our concrete work. Jake Schultz in Waste Management for partnering with us and willing to work with us on this project. and Dr. Sonia Maria Johnson and Dr. Pablo Terral, my academic advisors, for giving me countless pieces of invaluable advice. I also want to extend my thanks to the City of Beloit for having me as a resident here for the past 4.5 years of my time here. I've really enjoyed my time in Beloit, and I really love this space. So thank you for having me, and thank you for this honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Sid, and thank you, and thank you for leading the way and helping us be a more sustainable community. Thank you, and to Beloit College for your leadership. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Great work.
Item 4 is public hearings. 4A is consideration of ordinance number 3769, amending the future land use plan of the city's comprehensive plan from single-family residential to urban to planned mixed use for the property located at 825 Liberty Avenue.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have our Community Development Director, Julie Christensen, to provide us with an overview, but I believe there are 3 items tonight. There's 4A, 4B, and 4C. I know you have to read those, but what we will do is have our Development Director to go ahead and present on both of those items, and then we'll take the actions accordingly.
So as Council President Duncan said, I'm going to go through one presentation because I thought that might work better to kind of put it all together. And then as you open the public hearing, if there's any comments on any of them, you'll have heard the full presentation. So 825 Liberty Avenue is the former Royce Elementary School. And so it was listed on the comp plan as an institutional use. And then when we did the 2018 update, the committee and then the council subsequently decided to put it on as single-family residential urban, thinking that was a potential use for that. If the building was torn down, there were some lots underlying it, and that would be a good use, not knowing for sure what would happen with that proposed school. So what we've gotten is a request from Family Services to do a residential development with supportive services and childcare. So Family Services has been providing support to the Beloit community for years. Homeless, single-parent families face significant challenges accessing and maintaining housing, transportation, employment, and childcare. And what Family Services is trying to do is provide a connection between emergency housing and independent living by creating a transitional housing development at that campus, and the facility would provide some one-bedroom and two-bedroom residential dwelling units and a daycare center on site. I believe there may have been some change in the bedroom counts, which I'm sure they will speak to when they get up, because the county, which I suppose Kevin knows full well, has requested some different bedroom sizes, and then a daycare center on site. The residents will also have access to case management, advocacy, child and family counseling, support for early childhood cognitive development, financial education, along with access to food and clothing on site. The mission of the facility is to provide strategic resources to make independent living possible. In regards to the future land use plan of the comprehensive plan, the planned mixed use designation allows for the combination of land uses on one lot. The planned unit development process paired with this amendment allows for greater control in the density and intensity of the property long-term than would be allowed in traditional zoning. So there will be basically a master land use plan that you'll approve, and if you like to, and then a rezoning to PUD. But the first step is basically changing the future land use plan from the single-family residential urban to the planned mixed use. And also as part of this project, there's additional green space and a playground, as well as some additional parking. So that's the first item. The second item is the PUD itself. And so the planned unit development is set up as a special purpose zoning district, which allows you to approve a development which may need some greater flexibility in terms of setbacks, in terms of combination of uses, a number of reasons. It provides a great deal of flexibility for the developer, but it also allows for the council itself to impose what conditions they believe are necessary for that plan. and it also gives you the ability to approve a specific development plan. So normally what you do is you'd approve a rezoning to commercial, and then site plans would get submitted, or you approve a rezone to residential, and then they submit plans to us. This allows you to see the plan itself, approve the plan itself, and then any changes to it actually have to come back through this public process for approval. So what you're seeing before you is, sorry, I'm trying to find the plan. In your packet was a copy of this layout, which shows the new multifamily housing. There's an addition in the existing building, plus there's an addition, and then there's a childcare building that will face on Liberty. There's parking. So this is 9th Street. This is 9th Street. This is 10th Street. This is Liberty. So you've got parking along this back property line. You've got some parking right here for the childcare center. And so there is parking provided on site. And then on the next drawing behind that is a layout of how the units are laid out. And then following that, there are some renderings which show what it would look like, what the buildings themselves will look like. There's a couple of pages of renderings as well. This has gone out to the review agents, and based on those, Plan Commission reviewed this on October 19th, and they voted unanimously 5-0 to recommend approval, subject to the 8 conditions which are listed in the resolution, which is in your packet, which is that this approval authorizes up to 20 residential dwelling units, a daycare center, and community service uses that support residents located at 825 Liberty Avenue, as shown on the PUD Master Land Use Plan. And then any changes to the uses listed would require City Council approval. Annual rental inspections of the dwelling units are required to ensure compliance with city ordinances. The housing development must have property management on site. A point of contact must be provided to the community development director. The PUD must maintain 15% of the gross land area as open space. Mature trees on site must be preserved to the maximum extent possible. A 20-foot setback must be maintained from the PUD district boundaries. The maximum building height shall be 2 stories, and 36,000 square feet is the maximum building coverage limit on this 1.94 acre lot. One detached accessory structure may be constructed on site up to 400 square feet. Total on-site signage cannot exceed 550 square feet. An EVM sign, which is basically a digital sign, is prohibited. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall obtain site plan and architectural approval, which shall include a detailed review of all site, grading, utility, landscape, and lighting plans. Full compliance with building and life safety codes is required due to the change in use of the property. And then your standard conditions about major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being approved administratively. And then your third item is actually the rezoning to PUD, which would rezone it from what it is now, PLI to PUD. Included in the Plan Commission staff report, which has kind of a greater level of detail. There is PUD Master Land Use Plan review criteria that must be met. We feel that this plan does show an improvement over what could be done under traditional zoning. It allows for multiple uses on one property, which is difficult to do under conventional zoning. So we do believe it meets the criteria and recommended approval. And then for the rezoning piece, there's a findings of fact, and then it required Plan Commission to make a recommendation based off those findings of fact. Based off the findings of fact, they felt it was suitable to be rezoned to PUD. This is along a state highway, but it is surrounded by residential, which is why you're seeing some of the conditions in there, like the sign not being digital. But we do think that this would be a positive addition to the neighborhood. And if you look at the land underneath, it could be basically up to 12 single-family units. What they're proposing is less than 20. And so we're creating a lot of affordable housing units without overly increasing the density in that neighborhood. So we think it's a positive for the neighborhood, and Plan Commission felt that way as well. Do you have any questions about all 3 items before I sit down, or do you want to?
We're going to follow the
Okay.
process, and then we'll
Okay.
let you know if we got any questions. Thank you so much, Julie, for that presentation. At this time, the public hearing is open. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward.
Hello, my name is Robert Johnson, 844 Lincoln, and on this apartment housing or service center, whatever, the person that owned it before, the neighborhood turned that down, and of course the planning commission and everybody else said that there was going to be no overnighters, but they turned it down. He had a wonderful plan about putting a bunch of apartments in there, and it would have really been a good deal. But what happens, the neighborhood said no, and of course, according to the ordinances, was no overnighters. So this was a really nice plan. The neighborhood turned it down. And now what happens, we have another owner, and then now you're going to have apartments, and I understand that's going to be a service center and things like that there. But what happens there again, it is apartments. There is going to be apartments. There is going to be people staying there. And what happens, I have a number of people that signed against it, but these petitions, I guess, are no good unless somebody, witnesses it or something like that there. But I just wish that you guys would look at the neighborhood and get, I know you gave them some time, but get more feedback about it, because they didn't want overnighters over there. That's why that really nice apartment place was turned down. I understand this is a service center, and I understand it's for women and children, and it's really going to be helpful, And then that's all I got to say, Thank you.
And if you would, you could check with the clerk about that petition to see if that can be included in the record tonight. I don't know, but.
Well, I can, but what happens, there again, I have them here, and I didn't do a very good job of going out, but I still have some here, and you can ask every one of those people, And like I say, I understand we have to make changes and things like that there, but like I say, it was turned down before because people didn't want it to be an apartment deal. And now I understand it's going to be a service center, and it's going to be a good thing. It would be a good thing. I'm not saying nothing against that, but like I say, the neighborhood, they didn't want no overnighters there and things like that, So I can give this to over there, you say?
Clerk, if you could just check in with her. on that.
Okay, and like I say, the planning commission's already approved it, so I'm probably just blowing some hot air here, but but anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Madam President, if I could just clarify the petition issue. Under state law, a protest petition is required to be notarized, and I think that's what Mr. Johnson was getting at. So we can accept the petition for the value that the petition presents, but it will not create a need for a supermajority vote for your decision this evening.
And it cannot be in the record. It can be in the record.
You can file it with the record, however, it won't trigger that supermajority vote rather than just a simple majority.
Thank you for that clarification. Would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or oppose on this item please come forward at this time? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Joe Stottleman, 2431 East Ridge Road, Beloit, Wisconsin. And I am with Angus Young Associates. We are the architect on the project, and I am the applicant who filled out the form. So we have John Flatter and Kelsey Hood Christensen with me tonight. They are familiar with the operation side of the what Family Services done. I'm familiar with the building projects. So as Julie alluded to earlier, we are evolving the plan as we go along, and we receive feedback and input from everybody that we're working with. And in one of our discussions with the Rock County Human Services Committee, the suggestion was made that we increase the number of bedrooms in the units to better serve families. So in the application that you have today, you'll see that we had 7 2-bedrooms and 10 1-bedrooms. We were able to reorganize the floor plan in the existing building, not increasing the size of the building in any way, and meet the HUD requirements for bedrooms, which is 100 square feet per bedroom, gives me a double occupancy bedroom. And so now we have 4 3-bedroom apartments and the remainder 13 are two-bedroom apartments, and all will meet the HUD requirements, both for size of room and for ADA accessibility. So we're trying to make the project as accessible and available to everyone that we can be. And from there, I think I'm just open to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for your input.
Sure.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward at this time.
Good evening, Drew Pennington with the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation.
Can you state your address for the record?
Sure, 100 State Street.
Okay.
I wanted to speak this evening briefly in favor of this project. We desperately need more housing of all kinds in the city, and we desperately need more childcare. According to the Wisconsin Early Childhood Association, there are more than 2,000 children in Beloit under the age of 5 who do not have adequate childcare, and this project would help to fill part of that need. There are significant impacts to that. Workforce impacts, people unable to work full-time when they want to or work at all due to childcare. Again, according to WICA, within Rock County, there's an annual economic impact of $126.6 million from the childcare crisis in the county. So once again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself in favor of this project and would recommend that you consider approving all 3 elements to it. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Steve Howland, 1617 Emerson Street in Beloit. I speak to you in favor of this, and I've addressed you before on this, so I'm not going to say a whole lot new other than what you've heard before, other than if you want to improve a community, put a center that has women and children in it, and you're likely to get more police protection because they're going to be vigilant on it. You're likely to get the city council to respond more favorably to increased lighting, perhaps, so that safety is increased. And if you put a daycare center in that, you're going to increase the desire of people to move into that community. As was just stated, the figures for Rock County nationally, it's estimated at over $55 billion a year lost because of inadequate child care that we have. That's an economic generator. It's a way to bring people together. Further that, by having that center engage the community and make it an effort to have people come together, to understand together, to work together, to build together, putting back lives that are damaged by whatever means and giving them the opportunity to do that. I encourage you to support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward. Thank you. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, good evening. Kelsey Hood Christensen. I'm with Family Services at 416 College Street in Beloit. I speak to you tonight as a service provider. As we've spoken before, I oversee our current emergency shelter and participate in our local homeless service provider task force on many different levels. And I want to speak to you about the need. We've consistently seen in our homeless service provider continuum for ongoing for a few years now, 100 to 150 individuals and families sitting on the list. Those are literally homeless or in emergency shelters waiting for housing. And we have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful service providers in the area, but we don't have the housing to place these individuals. And they were all just looking for a stable foundation to move forward. We are answering our hotlines every day for families who just need a location like the center that we're proposing. The average wait list for these families currently is 128 days on this list. And for many of these families, the supportive services and the child care and all the other entities being provided on one site like we are proposing with this location would be life-changing. Not only for the adults individually, but so we can go forward, we can reduce childhood poverty, and we can end the cycle of poverty for these families. And so please, I'm speaking in favor of this project. and hope that we can keep grounded on who we're serving, the families and the children, with this service.
Thank you. Would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward? Can you please say your name and address for the record, please?
John Fleiterer, I'm with Family Services, 416 College Street. I will be brief. I can do that. I've been practicing. One of the reasons that we're so fervent in our belief of the utility of this project is that for a very long time we've been thinking about what do you do to help a community when you have limited resources? What is the best way with limited resources to have a positive impact on families? And it took us longer than what I care to admit to realize that focusing on young families with very young children who are economically vulnerable is the best place for us to put our resources. And by putting our resources in a coordinated way where you provide access to basic needs like housing, but then also counseling and support and opportunities to move to a point where you can become self-sufficient and your children can thrive. I don't know a better use of resources. And I think that there's a recognition of this from the long-term perspective by the county saying, you know, this project is going to help us in the future, all of us in the future, because we're not going to have to be putting so much money in child protective services because these kids will thrive. So I'm sensitive, we're sensitive to how difficult change can be for the neighborhood, but we are committed to building a facility that works for the families that we work with, but also is helpful to the community. We're excited about having a facility large enough that gives us access to a community room space that the neighborhood can use. We're happy to be a part of the policing of the neighborhood because we want to make sure that our residents are safe, but in so doing, we think that's going to benefit the rest of the neighborhood. So I hope that you will vote favorably on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward at this time? Final call. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward? The public hearing is now closed. Item 4A, can I please have a motion to lay over this ordinance? Is there a motion?
I so move.
Moved by Vice President Forbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Terrell. Are there any further questions or discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Councilor Anderson.
Yeah, first off, I just want to thank Family Services for being very persistent and consistent with this. I know it's been a couple years and a lot of conversations with not just us, but the county board, so thank you for doing that. Also, just as somebody who, out of all of us that are here, I'm the one that lives the closest to this facility, and I am frankly just very excited to see this building get redeveloped and repurposed for something very good. Housing is such an important issue in this community. I think we've all heard that, and I think this is a really big step to addressing that need. In a previous life, I worked at another nonprofit that had to deal with domestic violence as well, and people are just looking for a place to stay. They're having a tough time finding it, and you can't get somebody out of that emergency situation, get them settled, and then send them back out because there's nothing available. So this is a very crucial step. So once again, just thank you so much for stepping up and working with us as well as you can, because I know it's probably a lot of winding and frustrations for you guys too, trying to get this done. But thank you for doing this, and I'm very excited to see this close to my neighborhood.
Any other questions or discussion?
Comment.
Councilor Terrell.
Yes, ma'am. I would also like to say thank you as well to Family Services for offering these projects and developments to the community. I know it's very essential and very crucial to the people that could use them. And we do have a housing crisis in the city of Beloit that needs to be addressed. And there's a lot of single-parent households in the city of Beloit that could use use assistance like this. And I do understand that and the neighboring areas, that there's a little bit of concern. But given that this project is approved, I'm so passionate about these things, and I come from a neighborhood where this is seen very often. And when we have people out there with these needs that aren't getting the assistance, what we will likely see is crime go up. This is where we start seeing young people who are out here stealing cars, and we know that's a major problem in the city of Beloit. We got kids out here stealing cars. We got kids out here just stealing in general, fighting on the streets, just doing things they're not supposed to be doing. A lot of single parents, specifically a lot of single mothers who are trying to raise these kids and looking for child care for these young kids to get into, and they're struggling with that. So we honor the people that can step up and provide this assistance to these people, because like it's a lot of people out here struggling that really needs it, and that's how we could get a lot of the crime to go down, and the housing concerns and whatnot. But what I would personally say to the concerned citizens who did sign the petition, because I am so passionate about it, I will speak for myself. I don't want to speak for my colleagues, even though I know my colleagues are also concerned about this, but I will say I will personally put myself out there to speak to the people in the neighborhood, and if there's any concerns that happens as a result of this project, or something negative happens, I would like to come up and talk to my colleagues about it, see what we can do to address it right away, instead of just leaving it out there just to happen, and also speaking to the chief about what we can do to step up the police presence in the area. So I just want to make sure that the people in the neighboring areas are also having their concerns addressed as well, and not just the concerns of the people that we're also trying to assist with this project. So I'll just leave it there.
Thank you, Councilor Terrell. And I just want to add to that and just say that this project will provide support relative to education, housing, employment, support, and opportunities for families to become more self-sufficient. So I just wanted to add that. And this also, just for the council record, this also fits in conformance with our strategic plan. That said, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes.
4B is consideration of Resolution 2022-203, approving a planned unit development master land use plan for the property located at 825 Liberty Avenue.
Excuse me. Oh,
It's not necessary.
excuse me. Go ahead, Councilor Blakely, if you would just add to that. Sorry.
Okay, certainly. Regarding the first vote we just took, I just want to make sure the audience understands that this was the first reading, and our vote refers to holding it over for the next meeting, okay? All right, thank you.
Okay. Item 4B, and we already had a presentation. So at this time, the public hearing is open on this item. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward. Final call. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward. The public hearing is now closed. May I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
I so move.
Moved by Vice President Forbeck. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Anderson. Are there any questions or discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes.
Item 4C is consideration of ordinance number 3763, approving an amendment to the zoning district map from PLI, Public Lands and Institutions District, to PUD, Plan Unit Development District, for the property located at 825 Liberty Avenue.
At this time, the public hearing is open. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose, please come forward. Final call. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed, please come forward. The public hearing is now closed. Can I please have a motion to lay over this ordinance?
I so move.
Moved by Vice President Forbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Blakely. Are there any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Item 5 is public comments.
We have reached the point on our agenda for residents to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. Council members may not act on any requests at this meeting, but may refer a speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you please hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from personal attacks of any kind. Public comment is a courtesy, and we expect everyone to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Speakers are asked to complete a public comment form. Madam Clerk, were there any public comment forms submitted prior to the meeting?
Yes, there was. We
Can
have
you read
Steve
those,
Howland, 1617 Emerson Street.
Hello again, Steve Howland, 1617 Emerson Street. Want to speak to you about the ordinance that is coming up about the stop sign removals, and just to probe that a little bit further. The city, I understand, spent $3,500 on the study to try to address this and did a fairly comprehensive study in looking at the issues of how we deal with traffic management in the city. I think that study is flawed mainly because it was not addressing the speed issues that exist, how fast people are going. It was contended that the stop signs really don't slow down traffic. And on a certain understanding, I'm sure that is correct and needs to be looked at in terms of the overall signage within the city. But the specific example of Wisconsin and Emerson, where 5,500 cars are estimated to go through daily back and forth, it was stated that 4 to 5 during peak hours just blow right through the stop sign. So how effective is that? Well, that sort of doesn't take in account the over 99% that did at least come to a rolling stop. So the stop signs did accomplish something. But if stop signs don't work, what are the other tools that the city has? Because there is a perception that traffic is speeding up. People are driving faster, and hence the fear of walking around in your community is enhanced. So how do we address that? Rumble strips could be a possible solution in some of it. Understanding another study, which we would get the speed information, might help. If the median speed is 10 to 20 miles over the speed limit, we have a problem. So we need that speed information, and I would simply encourage you to take efforts to pursue that information so that we can have a better understanding of how to, in a positive way, manage our traffic and safety in Beloit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna Wexler, 737 Wisconsin Avenue.
Hello, my name is Joanna Waxler, and I live at 737 Wisconsin Avenue in Beloit. I'm here again tonight to ask you to please leave the stop signs at Emerson on Wisconsin and at Central on Bushnell. As I mentioned at the last meeting, this is a neighborhood with a lot of walkers, and the stop signs provide a safer chance at crossing the street. I fully understand, probably better than anyone in this room, how often that stop sign is blown. But drivers and walkers alike should be defensive and make sure the traffic will stop. Every time I'm there, you watch the car, make sure they're slowing down, or you wait. But at least you have a chance to safely cross the street. The traffic study focused a lot on traffic and accidents. My concerns are with the pedestrians. Traffic is fast, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how do people cross the street. I also want to bring up that it appears that no actual person wants the stop sign removed. This appears to have been brought about by some miscommunications, but no one actually wants the sign removed. The stop sign in Wisconsin has been there for 30 years, and no one has complained about it, and today, no one is complaining about it and asking it to be removed. So we could save some taxpayer dollars and leave the stop sign and let Public Works go do something else for the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Adams, 703 Milwaukee Road.
Yeah, Susan Adams, 703 Milwaukee Road. I agree with the previous two people that have just talked about these stop signs. And I think that the issue is speeding. We've had people, just since COVID, pass us on the residential part of Milwaukee. I mean, I was going 25 and this guy passes me. My husband went 32. Somebody's passing. And Wisconsin is even worse than Milwaukee. So, and I am one of the ones that relies on walking across Emerson going, okay, there's a stop sign. I better make sure that, people aren't going to blow it. So I also agree with what she said. And I think sustainability was one of the things that they mentioned in the $3,500 study, which I thought was interesting that they paid that. But I think if sustainability is mentioned in this report, I think if the city wants to do something about sustainability and moving cars on busy streets, they could look at Milwaukee Avenue when Todd is letting out their kids. People sit there for a half an hour waiting to pick up their children. I guess they don't want their child to wait 5 minutes for them. Anyway, it's ridiculous. And they leave their cars idling. You can't walk in that street anymore if you don't want to if you have an asthma problem. And I think that is something they should look at. There's a bottleneck there, and parents could stop doing that kind of thing. So I think the stop sign should be left alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Okay. Are there any members of the public who did not sign up who wish to address the council this evening? Madam Clerk, were there any public comments submitted by email? There was. Can you go ahead and read that, please? Sure.
Hi, I am writing this because I am concerned about the removal of the four-way stop sign at Wisconsin and Emerson. I live at 811 Church Street and often walk in that area. I feel that the stop sign provides a safe way to cross the street at Wisconsin, and it should not be removed. Many people walk in that area who benefit from the safety of having that stop sign. I would ask that you reconsider removing it. Thanks, Jerry Downing. Good morning. It has come to my attention that the City Council is considering the removal of stop signs from the corners of Wisconsin and Emerson in Bushnell and Central. To remove these signs would pose an incredible danger to the residents that reside around those locations. The number of people that drive down both Central and Wisconsin at speeds upwards of 60 miles an hour is appalling. I attempted to have a traffic sign added on Central about 2 years ago because of this. While I understand traffic studies and their importance, I would also note that these studies tend to take place during the day, and while traffic is heavy at those times, to get a true idea of how fast people drive down these streets, one should visit after the sun goes down. Our neighborhood is filled with children who love to play outside, something I applaud them and their parents for. I cannot tell you, however, the number of times I have left my house to go out and make sure kids are okay or tell them to move closer to their homes because of how fast cars go down the street. If the stop sign were removed on Central, there would not be another stop sign until one hit Strong Avenue. That's ridiculous. I would also note that currently on the corner of Emerson and Wisconsin, there is a shelter care facility, Derek's House, specifically for youth under the age of 18. While I know that this is not a school, I would encourage the council to treat it as such. Children are in and out of that house at all hours of the day. They should be safe to cross the street. I also hate to note this, but as a resident in a less than affluent area, it is very easy to feel as though past councils have taken these matters far more seriously if they occur in an affluent area or if the request is being made by an influential individual. Our children deserve to feel just as safe as theirs. I would encourage this council to do the right thing and leave the signs in place as they currently are. Thank you, Lindsay Heelis. My name is Valerie Hazelden, and I live at 1203 Bushnell, the corner of Central and Bushnell. I am opposed to the removal of the stop sign on Bushnell. I have repeatedly stated I think it will become unsafe and the traffic speed on Bushnell will increase if a stop sign is no longer needed. Honestly, what bothers me more is for Beloit to use the enormous cost of a traffic study to justify the need for the sign removal. There was a resident request to justify this intersection after a different sign was requested and denied. I do believe, if given the information that it would cost taxpayers $3,500 for a traffic study, that offer may have been declined. Same for the additional $3,500 study for Emerson in Wisconsin. Respectfully, Valerie Hazelden.
Thank you. Public comment is now closed.
Item 6 is consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Would any counselor like anything removed from the consent agenda? May I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda, including items 6A through 6F? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Terrell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Forbeck. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes.
Item 7 is licenses. There are none. Item 8 is ordinances. 8A is consideration of ordinance number 3766, removing stop signs on Wisconsin Avenue at Emerson Street and establishing no parking areas on Wisconsin Avenue at Emerson Street. Second reading.
Public Works Director Bill Frisbee will give us a brief overview.
Okay, this presentation will be much more abbreviated than last meeting. So we received a request from Jamison Geiger, 431 Wisconsin Avenue, to have the four-way stop condition in Wisconsin and Emerson changed to just a stop condition on Emerson with through traffic on Wisconsin. And as you've already heard, this was as a follow-up to a request at a stop sign in another intersection. We had a study that showed that a stop sign wasn't warranted, so it was questioned why it was here. So we performed the study. The study only looked at traffic volume and turn counts. It did not study speed. Speed was not studied because stop signs do not control speed. You can see in the report, there's a couple of excerpts here that I'm just going to share real quickly. Part H is impacts of unwarranted stop signs. Research has shown that installing stop signs or having an all-way stop controlled intersection when they are not warranted can lead to issues at the location of interest and even have potentially negative consequences community-wide. This is evident at the intersection of Wisconsin Avenue and Emerson Street, where angle crashes have occurred when northbound vehicles blew through the stop sign. And then they cited a study from the City of Madison Traffic Engineering Department. Numerous studies have shown that stop signs can lead to an increase in collisions as drivers ignore signs that they think are inappropriate. Stop signs may also lead to an increase in fuel consumption, noise pollution, auto emissions, and force traffic onto other streets. Experience has shown that other measures are needed to maintain a safe situation. Parking restrictions, tree or hedge trimming, pavement markings, and speed enforcement are often effective in reducing traffic collisions. Stop signs are intended to assign the right-of-way at intersections. They do not control speeding. In fact, speed often increases as motorists try to make up for time lost at a stop sign. And so when you look at the corridor of Wisconsin Avenue, this is the only stop sign between Grand Avenue and Woodward. There is no difference in this intersection than any of the others. None of these intersections would meet warrants based off of traffic volumes or crashes for vehicles, and this intersection has 8 crashes, 6 which are directly attributed to the stop sign being there, 1 intersection each direction. There was a total of 3 crashes in the last 5 years, and they were from people running the stop sign off the side streets. None were caused by speeding on Wisconsin Avenue. And so the study recommended the removal of the stop sign on Wisconsin, and our engineering judgment is to accept that recommendation. And so with that,
Okay,
we can.
thank you. May I please have a motion to approve the ordinance as presented? Is there a motion? Moved by Counselor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Terrell. At this time, I'll take any questions or discussion from councilors.
Madam President.
Counselor
Go first.
Counselor Blakely?
Oh, okay, thank you. Bill, Mr. Frisbee, a couple residents have mentioned the $3,500 cost for the traffic study, which, as it turns out, was requested by a different resident. But I understand that your department will be looking into a change in the process of this all. Could you speak briefly to that?
Yeah, historically, the process has been if a resident wanted to see a change in a traffic control situation or anything traffic, speed zones, parking, then they just requested engineering to have a study done or to have it taken to the traffic review committee. And so going forward, we're going to do some in-house review, do a quick warrant analysis, a crash history, and then if it meets warrants, doesn't meet warrants, then we'll move forward with recommending to traffic review committee to have studies done. And then only when there's a situation where with engineering judgment we feel it needs to be done, where previously it was just anybody would request it and it would automatically happen.
Thank you, Counselor Blakely. Next, Counselor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. Kind of going off of that too, I appreciate that we're making a change because that was actually kind of the question I was going to have. On top of that, is there a way we can get the neighborhood input before we even do that study as well? Because clearly residents aren't opposed to it, and that doesn't automatically mean they're right or wrong, but they're the ones that live in that neighborhood. So this is going to mostly directly impact them. So I'm wondering if we could potentially have more citizen input prior to the study versus after.
Yeah, we can definitely look into getting things in advance. Like right now our process was we were notifying people after we got the study back and we were having the traffic review committee meeting. We were notifying all the residents within one block each direction. But we can look for additional public participation.
Awesome. Really, thank you. I know that this is, I know that there's a lot of feedback and pushback, but I appreciate you willing to reassess and do that. So really appreciate the stuff you're doing at Public Works. My just follow-up is, I know residents are talking about speed. Is there any possibility we could have a conversation about traffic calming measures there, or if there's anything in the works already?
Yeah, so I have a list here of some things that are just general traffic calming things that you can do. And most of them are structural changes with horizontal or vertical offsets. So things like having lane shifts. If your road is wide enough, you just don't have straight lines. Every so often, you're changing where traffic is traveling. Speed humps or speed bumps, where you have vertical depressions or vertical changes in the road. They cause challenges for other things. They tend to just move traffic to the next corridor over. It also makes it a lot more challenging for snow plowing. You can have pinch points where just, say, mid-block, you narrow the road width. You can narrow the road width all the way through. You can install medians with narrower lanes to take up, so the median takes up some of your traffic lane, so it's a little more uncomfortable driving, which tends to slow drivers down. Intersections can have traffic circles or roundabouts in them. That tends to slow people down, but still keeps traffic moving. Having a lot more street trees that have the foliage to help just make it feel like a tighter corridor tends to slow people down. And then traffic enforcement. And Chief Sales is here. He's got some data on some traffic enforcement enhancements that they've been doing citywide, and so he can answer any questions you might have with enforcement.
Thank you. Just last comment, then I'll stop talking. I appreciate some of the stuff you brought in there too. Just my personal opinion. Just council can feel free to disagree, but I almost want to just keep the stop signs for now until we get the traffic calming, just so citizens feel like have a little bit of peace of mind. So that's kind of the direction where I'm personally going. Is I want us to maybe do those things first, see if we can get the speed down, because some of that's perception. I want people in their neighborhood to at least feel safe. So I think if that's something that we can do, is just keep stop signs for now and really work on traffic calming. I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Anderson. Counselor Terrell.
Oh, no, I don't have any comment. I don't have any comment.
Counselor Day.
You're getting beat up, Bill, tonight. That's pretty good, huh?
I can take it.
You can take it. I know you can take it. It's just, it's kind of disappointing that Jamison Geiger isn't here. He's the one that put the application together for this, and he didn't even show up tonight. But, I mean, this came in from the traffic committee. They approved, they moved forward. It was a tie on one, and it was 6-0 the other, and then the staff has also approved this. So it's a little confusing because everybody doesn't want it, but yet engineering has gone forward and made the approval to remove. Is there something we can reconsider? Should we go back and look at this again? Or is this just, I've read this report like 3 times.
Right.
So all the report says here that they should be removed. And if you look at this, and it's very hard to argue the facts and the numbers and everything that's in the documents here, and they give information here to address all of the questions that were presented here tonight. It's just what's right for the neighborhood.
Right. So from an engineering standpoint, both the Scott Prindiville city engineer and I are going to stick with following recommendations of the MUTCD. All of the other considerations, the political things, we leave that to you to decide.
You're trying to get a little help, Bill.
It's not working.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, ultimately, if, council's will is that the stop signs stay, that's what we'll do, and we'll move forward.
I mean, I personally want to follow the recommendations of the staff. I want to support you guys. And, there's been a lot of time and effort put into this. But I've listened to everybody, and really, like they've said, the stop signs do not slow down the traffic. So if that's the main concern in the neighborhood, we need to do something beyond the stop signs. So if you pull the stop signs, it's not going to slow the traffic. It says that here. It says it several times in the study.
Right. Yeah, the stop sign, I don't think, the only spot it's controlling speed is right there at the intersection. People are at least slowing down for it.
Right.
I think that's actually creating a less safe condition, especially for pedestrians and the cross traffic, because they're expecting those cars to stop. They might think, okay, they've got a stop sign, they're going to be stopping for it, proceed, person doesn't stop. That's when you have your accidents.
And then one last question. What good, just the cross traffic does not stop plaques or signs? Does that make a difference?
Generally, it's only here in this condition because it's a change, so it's notifying the people on Emerson that, hey, this is a change condition, cross traffic's not going to stop. And then if it is approved for the removal of the stop sign in Wisconsin, we'll be doing some other measures like putting flags or something next to those to help draw attention to those on Emerson who are used to those who do stop for the stop sign. So now they know there is a changed condition.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Any other further questions or discussion from councilors?
Madam President?
We'll take Councilor Blakely and then Councilor Levy.
Okay, I have a quick question about our process in this. So, pardon me, after this discussion, it's peppermint candy season, can't help it. After this discussion, we will have a vote on this one item, and then we will go on to the next item, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Levy. Thank you, Councilor Blakely, for that clarification.
Thank you. Just a couple things. For Kevin too's sake, one thing I've noticed about the staff being on this council for several years, that when they bring recommendations to us, if we don't go with those recommendations, they kind of say, okay, we move on to the next thing or seeing how we can improve upon this. So I understand your thing that's saying if, staff makes a recommendation, if we don't go with it, I think Bill said it best, hey, we put forth the recommendations. The political side is now it's you guys' job. So I want to commend staff for that, also that sometimes we have gone against what staff wanted and they just continue to rise to the occasion and say, okay, we're moving forward. What else what's the next project we need to move on to? So I just wanted to kind of let you know that, but also wanted to say that in the event that this does not pass, I still want us to look at the parking, because even though I'm not in favor of removing the stop signs, I am in favor of the no parking. So I know those are two different incidents and situations. So I want to make sure, even if this doesn't pass, we at least look at still the no parking on these, the second half of these ordinances as well. So, but I do want to commend staff for all the work they put into it. And I also want to commend the residents for coming out and letting your voices be heard as well. I voiced my comments at the last meeting, so I won't rehash those. And I did talk to the chief a little bit after the meeting and got a little bit more information. And I'm still kind of in the place of I am not in favor of moving them, and I understand everything, but that's kind of where I'm at. But I just wanted to make sure I got that on the table about the no parking. So thank you.
Any other councilors have any questions or further discussion? I just want to say that I'm very grateful and thankful to the staff for their hard work on this, because if you read through the report, we could tell it took a lot of work to put that together, so thank you. I want to thank you to the residents for coming forward, for giving us calls, for the emails. We truly appreciate it, because this is a tough decision that we have been challenged with, but we're ready to do what we can to make the community better. So at this time, we have a motion to approve the ordinance as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion fails. So should we do a roll call vote? I think that was, we don't have to, okay. Just wanted to make sure that the clerk got that for the record. Okay. Next item, 8B.
Consideration of ordinance 3767, removing stop signs on Bushnell Street at Central Avenue and establishing no parking areas on Bushnell Street at Central Avenue, second reading.
And I believe we had the presentation already, so may I please have a motion to approve this ordinance as presented?
So move.
Moved by Councilor Terrell, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Forbeck. Are there any further questions or discussion?
Just a
Yes,
comment.
ma'am. Excuse me, Kevin.
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Councilor Blakely, go ahead.
Thank you. In addition to the people who've taken their time to come forward and speak to us here in person, and all those who wrote letters, I've spoken to some residents and former residents of these neighborhoods, and although I certainly appreciate all the hard work that went into the study concerning warrants, I'm all for traffic calming, and I'm all for the people factor especially. That's why I'm opposing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Blakely. Councilor Levy.
Thank you. So Bill, for the second half of this, with the parking, do we have an estimated time of when that would come back to us for consideration? I mean, really, no rush, not a big rush, but I just want to make sure it doesn't fall off the.
Right, we would have to take it to Traffic Review Committee, which would be a February meeting.
Okay.
Because they meet every even-numbered month. But it could come back probably then in the month of March.
Okay, thank you.
And Councilor Levy, just to piggyback off of that, I know you talked about the parking, but we also talked about looking at the process as a whole. So, yeah. Any other discussion? At this time, there's a, wait a minute, did we get a motion on that already?
We did.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion fails.
Thank you.
Item 9 is appointments. There are none. Item 10 is councilor activities and upcoming events.
Okay. Let's start with Vice President Forbeck today.
Oh, my goodness. I really have no report.
Okay. All right. Councilor Terrell.
Thank you, Madam President. Just one important thing that I wanted to put out there to the public. On December 14th, and I'm actually going to be double booked that day because I have a Parks and Rec Committee meeting, so I'll be done with this one before I get to that meeting. But on December 14th, from 4 to 5:30 p.m., we're having a housing education and outreach, if you want to call it workshop, at Merrill Elementary in the gymnasium to make people more aware of all the housing options and assistance programs offered by the city of Beloit, as well as having Axe Housing in there as well to speak on their programs. This is important because not many people are aware of the opportunities that they can take advantage of. As far as home ownership programs, rental assistance, down payment assistance programs for home ownership, the home program for principal reduction, etc. With rents going up, and there's like a low morale in the city of Beloit as far as like the housing, because there's not very many options. We want more people. We just wanted to reach out to more people to make sure that the people who aren't aware of these things, that they know about them, because I'm seeing that in the neighborhood that I grew up in and the people that I know, they're not aware of a lot of these programs. So we just wanted to do something at Merrill in the neighborhood where there's a lot of people concerned about that, and invite the entire public to come through. It was organized by myself with Mark, and also with Mark Perry from Community Action. He's also on the board of Axe Housing. And Naila Adama, who is also a staff member at Merrill Elementary. And I've also discussed this with the president before we even plan this out. So, and we're still in the planning process going into the 14th. So we're planning on inviting other people to be in attendance for that. We're also planning to have Beloit Neighbor Works in attendance. Of course, other city council members I'll encourage to be there. The President Duncan, informed me that she would like to be there for that as well. We have representatives from Axe Housing, and there will also be like refreshments and things like that for the guests and the people in attendance. So we just want to make sure that people know their housing options and what's available to them, what money is out there, grants, loans, and whatnot, things that they're not aware of. And working with like Axe Housing as far as like helping people get their credit together and being able to purchase a home in the city of Beloit, because there's people that just don't know about a lot of this stuff. And I think that, you know, given, like I say, the housing crisis in Beloit, people would like to get more in home ownership with rents going up. And, you know, nobody wants to pay a $1,200, $1,300 rent payment when they can get like an $800 mortgage, you know. So that's just something that I want to throw out there to the public. So this will be December 14th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. at Merrill Elementary. And I will also be going live on Facebook about this in the coming days. And I also want to say something real briefly. I have invited Zanielle Robinson, a young lady that I mentored back in the day. I've been knowing her since she's about 13, 14 years old. And she came and made a surprise visit to me at Merrill, and she's currently going to Tennessee State University. She's a double major in criminal justice and pre-law. Wants to be a lawyer when she grows up, and I think it's important to mention that because I wanted to, you know, given that we all want to see young people come behind us and do good things, I want her to come before the council and see, like, you know, me mentoring her and being so proud of where how far she's come in her lifetime. We're looking at the next city attorney, the next city manager, the next city councilor. You know, so we want to see people like her do really big things. And in any situation where young people, we can invite them to things like this so that they can see what we do, so that they can do better, at least I speak for myself, do better than me at the position that I'm at, and make some changes, you know, in the future. Like, I always encourage that, and I just wanted to give Zanielle a brief shout out real quick. So thank you for coming, Zanielle, and I love you, all right?
That was beautiful. I'm totally out of order, but that was a beautiful statement. Congratulations to you.
And we're so happy to have you here tonight to join us. Thank you, Councilor Trail, for sharing that. Councilor Day.
I don't have anything this evening. Thank you.
Councilor Blakely.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say that Holidazzle was really a great opportunity for many, many people to come see our fair city and to shop in our downtown locale. I mean, the population of Beloit swelled by so many hundreds, if not thousands, of people last Friday evening. So that was a very successful event, and I'm quite proud of our local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Blakely. Councilor Levy.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. First off, I just hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. And to kick off the holiday season, I said this last council meeting, I got to go to the Grand Lighted Holiday Parade. I was very excited. I went to one of the downtown businesses and got something there and enjoyed it while the floats were going through, and obviously enjoyed seeing everything back in full force, including Tim Bremmel interviewing every entry one by one, which definitely made the experience last a lot longer, which was absolutely amazing for me. I don't know how everyone else felt. I loved it. But also just go patronize our downtown businesses. We have a lot of great small businesses here in Beloit that provide a wide array of things. So if you haven't been down there in a while, go check it out. We've got a lot of great local business leaders, and we want to make sure we support them.
May I add one thing that piggybacks on what Councilor Anderson just said, if you were through, Clint? Well, that is just that you can get a gift card from the Downtown Beloit Association, the DBA, that you can spend in any place, any business downtown. So that might be a great stocking stuffer for some people.
Thank you. And I want to begin my report tonight just by thanking everyone who gave input tonight. And also, we had a number of students that were here tonight in our forum, so I just want to say thank you all for being here. I also want to mention that I am anticipating the $16 to $20 million public-private development, which involves the vacant structure that extends over the Rock River, which is located at 80 to 100 East Grand Avenue in downtown Beloit. This transformational project will have both environmental and economic benefits right in the heart of our downtown. Special thanks to Hendricks Commercial Properties, the Department of Natural Resources, our city staff, and council for their hard work and support of this endeavor. Let's continue working together to ensure that this project benefits our entire community. Now for my council activities. I attended the Beloit College Presidential Search Committee meeting, the Plan Commission meeting, the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation Finance and Audit Committee meeting, the Visit Beloit Board of Directors meeting, and a special council meeting along with my fellow councilors to discuss the timeline and scheduling of the next steps in our city manager search. Our council will do due diligence to ensure that we find the candidate who will best serve our Beloit community. We will keep everyone updated throughout this important process. And in addition to that, I had the opportunity to meet with our new school district of Beloit superintendent, Dr. Willie Garrison. The superintendent shared that he received a warm welcome to Beloit and is ready to lead efforts to enhance our public schools. Speaking of our schools, last week I participated in the practice interviews for students at Beloit Memorial High School, along with some of our community partners. We met with individual students to provide positive, encouraging feedback and support to prepare them to be career, college, and community ready. Special thanks to the students, School District of Beloit, Rick Barter, Danielle Marks, Susan Day, Derek Cotter, Tracy Shirk, Greg Snyder, who's here tonight, and our business community for making that effort a huge success. Job well done. Also, I went to the Grand Lighted Holiday Parade and Holidazzle downtown. I had a wonderful time with my family and connecting with friends and residents. I also had the pleasure of talking with people who weren't from Beloit who stopped to join in the festivities too. Many thanks to the Downtown Beloit Association, Visit Beloit, the downtown small businesses, our city staff, including the City of Beloit Police and Fire Departments, the Department of Public Works, Sarah Locke, our Director of Strategic Communications, and everyone who helped with these events. Way to go. That said, I hope you encourage your children to write letters to Santa, which are due by Thursday, December 9th. All letters must have a self-addressed stamped envelope enclosed so that Santa can know where to write back to. Okay. The mailbox locations are downtown on the corner of State and Grand, the Beloit Public Library at 605 Eclipse Boulevard, and the Edwards Ice Arena, which is at 2101 Cranston Road. Also, please contribute to the Beloit Bundle Up Drive. New and gently used coats, hats, or gloves, and new socks can be dropped off to Visit Beloit, the Downtown Beloit Association, or the Wisconsin Welcome Center. These items will be donated to Community Action and the Youth to Youth for Change programs. And don't forget to consider serving on one of our city commissions. You can go to our City of Beloit web pages for more information. Remember, this is the season for giving. This ends my council report for this evening. Next, we'll go to item 11.
City manager presentation.
At this time, our interim city manager, Beth Krieger, will give us a brief report about the city manager search.
Yeah, just to provide some detail, you met last week at a special meeting to receive the application materials for the candidates that have met minimum requirements for the position, and you agreed that on December 20th you'll be meeting with the recruiter to go through the candidates to determine who you'll be inviting to that first round of interviews. So we look forward to that process and the interviews taking place shortly after the new year.
Thank you.
Item 12 is reports from boards and city officers. 12A is consideration of resolution 2022-202 approving a sixth amendment to farm lease for 3015 Cranston Road.
Our Economic Development Director, Drew Pennington, will present.
Good evening again. The City of Beloit entered into a Fifth Amendment with Gary and Michelle Hahn to extend the farm lease on the city-owned property at 3015 Cranston Road in February of this year. That lease extension expires on December 31st of this year. Staff is recommending a 2-year extension of the lease under the current terms and conditions. This is a landlocked parcel of land that totals 3.68 tillable acres. The lease term will begin once this lease is executed and expires on December 31st of 2024. The annual payment to the city in rent will be $644, made in 2 installments in May and November of each year, and all the other lease terms and conditions remain the same. Staff recommends approval of the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the lease agreement.
Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
I so move.
Moved by Vice President Forbeck. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilor Blakely. Are there any questions or discussion? At this time, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes.
Item 12B is consideration of Resolution 2022-206, approving the Second Amendment to the City of Beloit farm lease between the City of Beloit and Walsh Farms, Family Farms, LLC.
Our Economic Development Director, Drew Pennington, will continue to present.
The City of Beloit entered into a First Amendment with Walsh Family Farm LLC to amend the farm lease on multiple city-owned properties to remove the Phoenix Investors property at 1901 Gateway in May of this year. That lease, as amended, expires on December 31st of this year. Staff recommends a 2-year extension of that lease under the current terms and conditions with a slight increase in the rent per acre. This proposed Second Amendment involves 5 clusters or sites across multiple parcels totaling 152.99 tillable acres. The proposed Second Amendment removes 4 acres from Gateway Site 2A, which is addressed as 1801 Gateway Boulevard. That acreage was recently sold to G5 Brewing Company, along with an increase in the tillable acreage of the remaining parcel of 2.75 acres, based upon updated aerial photos showing what can be farmed. As a result, the net decrease in the tillable acres is only 1.25 acres. The lease term will begin once the lease is executed and expires on December 31st of 2024. Annual payment to the city will be roughly $35,000, made in 2 installments in May and November of each year. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the lease agreement.
Thank you. May I please have a motion to approve this resolution?
I so move.
Moved by Vice President.
That's okay, Blakely.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Blakely, seconded by Vice President Forbeck. Are there any questions or discussion? At this time, there is a motion and a second to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Moved by Councilor Terrell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice President Forbeck. At this time, there is a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion passes. We are now adjourned. This ends our meeting for this evening.